Welcome back to a Book a Day podcast, and this is the last episode in the series of Ritusamhara, which is Kalidasa's literary masterpiece on different seasons of India. It started with summer, then came rains, then autumn, then early winter and winter, and now finally in the last chapter we'll be discussing spring, how Kalidasa, the great Indian Sanskrit poet, how he described the seasons centuries ago. And although a lot of things have changed, climate change has occurred, a lot of pollution around, but still you see the glimpses of those seasons in different parts of India, especially if you are somebody like me who's living in the Himalayas. You get to see a lot of seasons and you get to see the details as Kalidasa has mentioned. Now, before we begin, I would like to mention a couple of things which I have learned over the course of this series as I read Ritusamhara. The first thing is, on the outset, it seems like this is a work on seasons. But I think it's more about love. It's more about romance, this work, and how couples, they express their love, romance, sexual intimacy in different seasons. Because on one side, Kalidasa is describing the seasons outside, but constantly he's coming back to the point of lovers, how they are making love, how they are getting intimate, how they are expressing themselves, and he's describing the beauty. So a lot of it is about love and romance. And the second thing I wanted to mention here was look, I understand that most of us cannot comprehend Sanskrit literature, but I would recommend something that if you can manage, if you can get hold of, you should just listen to the rendition of Ritusamhara in Sanskrit. You don't have to understand it, but you'll just get to understand the musical value of it, how different tones and sounds they occur in it, how they set the mood, and you'll get a much better idea about what this work is all about. Because no matter how good they are, translations cannot do justice to the original work. You can either preserve the music that is in there, or you can preserve the meaning. So you go by one, you miss the other. And in most cases in translations, we go by meaning. We literally translate things to another language, and then we lose the music, we lose that flavor. So very important that if you want to just experience that flavor, you should listen to it, and you'll find it on a plenty of places online. So just that couple of things, and now let's see how Kalidasa describes the season of spring, what happens there. And we saw how he described winters. Winter was quiet and cozy and comforting, and we saw how he ascribed certain feminine and masculine characteristics to different seasons. So rains was the season which was more masculine, autumn was feminine, winter was also quite feminine. Now we have spring, which is somewhat masculine, because right away he mentions in the first paragraph the way he describes it. Let me read a few lines there. The warrior spring comes with armorial bearing, armed with the nimble shafts of the swelling mango blossom, and the murmurous line of bees is the twang of his lustrous bowstring. He's shooting his flowery arrows, my dear, to pierce the hearts of lovers. So see, once again, he comes back to the point of lovers, how they are experiencing different seasons. So essentially, this work is about lovers and how they romance in different seasons. All of that, settings, all of the seasons that are changing, that are always in the background. So it's very much like a lot of paintings that you see, especially um, in the Pahari miniature art that you see. There is a hero and heroine in the foreground and constantly changing weather in the background. So it's very similar to that. Those seasons are changing and lovers, in different ways, they are enjoying themselves. So he comes back to the same point. Kalidasa, he's expressing how lovers are having good time, and he is expressing the beauty of maidens and other women. So here are a few lines. Glamorous maidens wrapped in love resume their necklaces, wet with the liquescent sandal on their breasts, and their intimate wristlets and armlets, and they wear anew the girdle on their hips. On elegant maidens' faces, shining like the lovely golden lotuses, and adorned with tracings of cosmetics, beads of sweat appear like pearl that embrace the beauty of other gems. The maids, snuggling beside their men, draw breath quickly, disturbing the rhythm of the breasts. Their clothing is loosened and their limbs relax, flecked by desire. Young maids are tense in spring, attuned to lovers' instincts. So we see how beautifully he describes the charm and beauty of young maidens, and also a lot of focus on how their garments have changed from season to season, how they're putting on certain jewelry in different seasons, how they are experiencing the weather and accordingly dressing up themselves and wearing different kind of makeup. Then at the same time, he's also focusing on the trees, the mango trees that are blossoming, the bees are coming, the cuckoo birds, they have started singing. So here are a few lines. It says, the young Atimukta, the clinging vine, whose lovely blossoms are kissed by the crazy bees, and whose soft tendrils a quiver, bend in the gentle breeze, arrests the eyes of enamored couples. Sudden their hearts are filled with a flowing stream of love. And then look at this. He says, the voice of the joyous male cuckoo quivers as he sings the sweet words of his haunting melody. I love, by the way, this phrase, haunting melody here. It's very interesting. And the murmur of the intoxicated bees reaches even maidens sheltered by convention and modest upbringing, and fills them with the rapture of expectancy, making them tremble with delight. So clearly he's painting a very interesting picture here, and you get a sense of the sounds and aesthetics of what is going on around. And moving on, the sight of the hills adorned with trees and the varied lovely blossoms, the sequestered peaks ringing with the echo of the voices of singing birds, and the crevices of rocks strewn with alpine flowers, comfort the longing eyes. Seeing the mango trees in bloom, the passerby, parted from his loved one, feels the bitter tears of umbrage and yearning scorching his eyes, and placing the arm across his face, he wails and sobs aloud. And then he continues, in his flower month, the hovering bee with the balmy spoil of honey, the cuckoo with its melodious lilt, and the mango of Karnikara trees with their glory of blossoms tempt the proud girl's mind with stinging darts of the swoop of thought, kindling the flame of love. So there is desire in lover's mind, and there is also feeling of longing and seeing those who are away. And it's such a nice combination that you often find in Kalidasa's poetry. One is that there is romance and beauty in unity of lovers, they're coming together, and then there is beauty and romance and literary genius in separation. So these two emotions, they always go side by side. There is separation, there is desire, then they come together, then they go away. This just goes on and on and on between the lovers. And that's how it ends then. It just leaves us there. And it just goes on, the cycle goes on. After spring, we move on to summers. And I hope you really enjoyed this work. And let me know what you think about it. What do you think of Kalidasa's poetry in general? And what about Ritusamhara, how he describes India's seasons? What are the things you would like to add to it? I would really love to hear your thoughts. So let me know, and I'll surely respond to your thoughts. Thank you once again very much for listening, and we'll move on to some other great literary work from the next episode onwards. And I hope you'll stay with it. You will continue following us, and I'll be back again. Thank you very much. Keep listening. Take care.